Welcome to that free personal branding class. I am Qiana Nicole, and I'm a personal brand strategist. Today, we're going to dive into the basics of what personal branding actually is. So, I'm going to go over what we're going to discuss. We're going to go over 5 points. One is what is personal branding, what it is, and what it ain't, just to simplify it. Let's talk celebrity personal brands is the second part, which is we're going to go over a few celebrities, but the main one being Beyonce and how she has not packaged a personal brand, contrary to what most people think. The third is going to be identifying your personal brand because you already have one. Everyone does. Your personal brand journey and understanding that you are the niche. If this is new language for you, I'll go into that in the Q&A. But a niche is simply where you find your corner of the market and you get as narrow as possible and you target one thing. We'll talk about that a bit more. And then personal branding strategy, the first 5 steps for positioning yourself with a personal brand. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am. I am Qiana Nicole. I'm an authenticity coach before I'm anything. So I teach people about their original design, how to tap into who God created, wired, and designed them to be. And then I help people with personal brand strategy so that they can show up as themselves, make impact, and make money. I'm a creative entrepreneur. I'm a kingdom building wife and a mom. And as a personal brand strategist and an authenticity coach, I help moms, particularly, and mission driven entrepreneurs tap into their God given design to build impactful personal brands. And this is huge for everyone, but really the intentionality for moms because we are so hands on with our family. Oftentimes we think in order to build that it's separate, and it doesn't have to be. It's one life, and you can show up as yourself and make money and make impact without having to put your family on the back burner. I'm a lover of the King. So the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. My best friend is the Holy Spirit, and I'm a daughter of God. Make no mistake about it. So if anything makes you uncomfortable with this, the information is still good for you. Take what you can and apply it how you know how. But I will be talking about our original design and who God made us to be. Okay, so this is literally my dedication to waking up generations of people to who God actually created them to be. My belief is that everything that is wrong with the world is that people just don't know who they are. They are having an identity crisis. They get so far away from their original design that it causes mental health issues, it causes pressure, it causes poor relationship connections, improper, unhealthy relationship connections, simply because we don't understand the way that God made us and wired us. Therefore, we can't understand the way He made and wired others, and so forth and so on. You are brilliant. I want to make sure that I start with you understanding that your brilliance is unique to you, that there's nothing to be measured in the process. And we're going to get to you understanding how God uniquely wired you and how you begin to understand why you do some of the things you do and how to stay in your zone of genius to do them and make money. In personal branding, it's super important to start with a mission and a why for everyone. And I'm going to go over mine because I'm going to lead by example so that you get a concept of the information when we go into the Q&A. So my mission and my why is first, it's God. That's first and foremost. Second, it's me. It's important for me to be aligned with who I am authentically. And then it's my family. So my mission is to help creative, mission-driven moms and entrepreneurs discover who God made them. It's really this place of building from who you are and being, not just doing and making impact. Most people want to learn, grow, create, and leave legacies based on what they do or what someone approves of them doing versus understanding their authentic state of being and actually a divine manifestation of who God is within you and who He made you to be, and that making global change and impact in the world. It's important for us to leave a lasting legacy. Legacy is really important to my mission because what we do today is really not just about today, it's for generations to come. So I'm also driven by my passion to help others step into that place for themselves, to live with purpose and make meaningful impact so that they can actually live fulfilled lives. Because without meaning, without impact, without understanding your value, it's really a form of self-harm in ways that we can probably all relate to without me explaining. This is why people ask the question, who am I? What am I here for? So, what is personal branding? This is what people say it is. right? This is the most common response that you'll get. They believe that it's branding personality, right? It's about being visible and about having catchy taglines and something that someone can connect you to. That's what people believe it is. So most people are trying to brand a carefully crafted persona that they have put on a mask or a forefront or whatever that is. It's different for every person who doesn't understand what it really is. But they've put this show together and they've given it to the internet, and the internet eats it up. And they believe because they're showing their face, that is personal branding. That is absolutely not personal branding. So I'm going to tell you what it ain't. It's also not keeping it real and being rude. Most people think just because I am being authentic, and this is what they believe, because it's not really being authentic. They think I'm just being me, right? Or I'm being real, or I'm a realist. Most people think that personal branding in this way gives them a pass to be rude, to just be rude and to be ornery and to be disrespectful and say, that's my personality, love it or leave it. Now, if you've taken the wiretap, which there will be a link below if you are watching the replay, if you have taken the wiretap, we know that this is not the real meaning of personality. Your personality is who God created, wire, and designed you to be. And most people have no idea what that is yet, right? So, what we're calling personality is really trauma on display, which is really our lack of understanding of who we are and our built up walls and personas for self protection and a host of other things. And we're calling that personality. The easy definition to remember for personality is the reality of the person that God made you to be. So we can discuss that further if you have questions. It's about emotional maturity, really, when you talk about personal branding and not really this facade. People are drawn to authentic things, especially more times than ever, I believe, in this day and age where we have AI on the scene. And don't get me wrong, I love it for many, many things. I believe that God can use it greatly for the kingdom, and we will talk about that. But if you are not in that mindset of understanding, developing, leaving impact, and using it to partner with, you will be among many, many people that AI becomes a voice to, a face to, a sound, and everything else. And people know people. They may not be able to identify it right away, but you know what's real on the inside. You're drawn to it. So in this day and age, people more than ever are looking for authentic connection. Personas won't work, facades won't work. The information at this point is resellable, and that won't work either. So the only way to really get to this place is to understand that you are the niche. You are the brand. It's you. It's your life. It's your experiences. It's your testimony. It's your revelation. It's your authentic nature that cannot be duplicated or replaced by anyone or any app. It is those things that people will be looking for more and more in the days to come. And where the world really pushes, the gurus and the experts really push for find a niche and narrow down. I can guarantee, I'm willing to predict that in a year, that won't be the stance. I want to say 6 months, but I'm going to be gracious here and say about a year, because AI is rapidly growing and so is the disconnection between humans. So people will be looking for what is real, and there will be a high demand on personal brands, and people will want to connect to people and buy the things that people are buying, and so forth and so on. So the truth is this: it's really about how people experience your essence. That's all personal branding is, right? It's the impact that you leave with somebody in an encounter. So every single person has a personal brand. Will you be intentional about shaping it? Will you be intentional of how to package it? Right? If I said right now, who's the most disrespectful person, that tells me that that person has a strong personal brand, right? They've been very consistent about their behavior. If I asked you who's the wisest person, that tells me that that person has left an impact with you, and you could look and tell me their core values and all those things over their life, right? If I say who's the most joyful person, all of those things are an experience. It's a summary of an experience that a person leaves with you that comes from who they are and how they demonstrate themselves. Everybody, I don't care who they are, is a gift. We come from God. We are made in his image and likeness. We are all a gift. What we express on the other end can be filtered by our trauma, by our disappointment, by a host of other things. And that may not be what we cause other people to experience about us. Nevertheless, it still leaves a demonstration of your personal brand in that moment, right? So again, it's about how people experience the essence of who you are and the impact you make through that encounter. So our children have personal brands. Everyone has a personal brand. This is not about business so much as it is about who you are and understanding and making a conscious choice to how you want to show up in the world, and then getting to be your authentic self and make money doing it. So let's talk celebrity personal brands. I asked this question, I took a poll, and these are the top 3 that came up. Interesting enough, Auntie Tabitha Brown wasn't mentioned as much as the Kardashians and Beyoncé. And it's in this order I got the answers. When I ask people what celebrity name comes to mind when I say personal brand, the Kardashians was number 1, and then there was Beyoncé. The Kardashians nor Beyoncé they don't have a packaged personal brand. I'm going to explain that to you. So when we talk about the Kardashians, if I said anybody in the Kardashians had a personal brand, it would be North and Courtney. And when we think about personal branding, people think that because you see their face and you see their life, that's a personal brand. The Kardashians are very curated, right? This isn't about whether you like them, whether you like their entertainment. This isn't about that. I want to paint a picture for you because they're very well known and they have products, and they are clearly a business. The Kardashians are a brand, but they do not have a personal brand. And the reason that makes you know that is let's use Kim for an example. We don't know Kim. We don't know her personal life. We know what she shows us. We see when the kids turn the camera on, she's like, turn that off, right? Because this is a personally curated space to give you an idea of sensuality and luxury. Kim herself is a luxury brand. Kim has branded herself. The one way about someone's personal brand is what they're passionate about, right? And these are the things that the Kardashians actually protect, and they don't allow you to see. We don't see their kids are wild and free. So we know that family is important to them. That's something that if you were looking hard enough for, you could see that their dad really left a legacy of connection and family, right? Kim's actual personal brand, which is something that she doesn't show you on purpose because she is a brand and not a personal brand, hers is justice, right? But the world doesn't believe her because sensuality is what she made the choice to partner with sensuality and luxury and selling you a lifestyle idea, right? So when she shows up and she does things for injustice, people laugh, people mock, people don't talk to her, but that's who she really is, right? Anytime you go to school, and I'm sorry, she did an apprenticeship, but anytime you put that type of time in, and I've actually investigated because I love personal brands. I love undercover personal brands, right? I just love to dig and investigate. But the team of lawyers that she worked with actually said she was the hardest working person they had ever met. But she didn't do it for fame. She didn't want anything videotaped. She went, she studied, she learned, she assisted. So anytime you do that, you are passionate about it, right? She did it. She learned it. We see her move. I'm also going to tell you something about justice that I can spot in Kim Kardashian is the thing that happened to her. We can argue all day long. None of us were there, so I don't really know. I won't even go that route. But whether she leaked it or not, she was exacting justice for something that she had done and making the most out of it. She didn't keep herself in this box of shame, and she does the same thing for people in the justice system. So this is a common thread in how she moves and how she flips things and turns them, even though they had a bad outcome. That's who she is, but that's not what you know because Kim doesn't have a personal brand. Kim has a brand, and she sells sensuality and lifestyle. Now let's talk about Khloe. Khloe for a minute was in between, and she wasn't really certain about who she is, but we knew her personality well enough. I haven't watched Kardashians probably past season 1 or 2. I don't know. It was a very long time ago, but she was just there. But she was funny. She was sarcastic. She was real. She was all these things at the time when I watched, and she stood out because she was different, right? Unfortunately, the trauma that she experienced of not having a clear identity shifted, and she also became about lifestyle and luxury. But we saw a very clear shift of her figuring out who she was and not figuring out who she was. And then she determined to also brand herself. So we know what matters to her because their kids aren't all over that way. They're very protective of their kids. But Khloe also does not have a personal brand packaged. Kourtney, on the other hand, Kourtney has been consistent since day one, as far as I can see. I don't follow them, but when I do see clips and she's still Kourtney, right? There is a very clear way to see what matters to her. Health, holistic living, wild and free children, not being boxed in, not faking for the cameras. She's very true to that personal brand, and it comes out in every product she creates, right? So I think she has some wellness products. I think she did clothing with them, but the whole fight was to have sustainability, right? So she's been very consistent in what matters to her as she has built, right? Even so much as to not be on the show so much. There's always this fight between her and the reality of the brands that they're building, because she has a very strong personal brand. And I'm not even sure if that's intentional on her part. We can just see it. Now let's talk about North. I don't know about anybody else, but I love North. She is very authentic. She is very wild and free. She doesn't hide her feelings. She's still very kind. She's still very loving. She's secure within herself. She's comfortable. She talks about her vulnerabilities. She's giving you a peek inside in the best way that she can as a child to her life and to her experiences. This is personal branding. I would say that North is probably the most famous of the Kardashian crew. If you follow her, you would understand that comment. So again, when we talk about the Kardashians, they have a brand. The Kardashians are a brand. And then there are a few that we can see their personal brands, but they aren't intentionally packaged. Now let's move on to Beyonce. Beyonce definitely doesn't have a personal brand package. And that, I believe, has been very intentional on her part. From day one, she has bought every outlet and stream that she can to control her story and her narrative, which isn't a bad thing. She just doesn't let you into her personal life at all. So we don't know Beyonce. So this is what happens when you don't know someone. It doesn't matter if you are the top artist in the world. And again, this is not about whether we like them or not, what we believe about them. We are simply talking about branding and personal branding. It doesn't matter if you're the top artist in the world. If we don't know you, we don't trust what you sell. Every single product that Beyonce has released has not lasted. It wasn't sustainable, and it pretty much over time failed. And I'll talk about the first, which was House of Darion, right? I think that came from their family line. They were trying to establish something, but because Beyonce was forefront of the family, they put her name on it. It flopped. It didn't do well. Then there's a lot of things in between, but then let's talk about the hair care products. We don't know Beyonce. So if you're telling us Beyonce has a natural hair product, we don't know that she ever wears her natural hair. She probably does, but we don't know that. So people don't believe and don't connect to things that we can't see or authenticate, right? So we don't know if someone else created this recipe and you just put your name on it. We don't want our hair to fall out, right? So we're not really going to invest in this simply because you put her name on it. Contrary to popular belief, people think slapping a name and a face on a product will sell it. Beyonce has been proof that that is not true. Now, I'm going to tell you, not only do we not know Beyonce, her people don't know her very well either. This was a clear-cut concept for me, who truly lives, breathes, and understands personal branding. If Beyonce would have come out with a wig line, it probably would have sold more money than her records. We have watched her live that life from day one with her wigs. We have never seen a Beyonce wig fall off. She took a tumble down the stairs and the wig was still the star of the show. She got caught in a fan. The wig was still the star of the show. The wig has sold itself. No one, I don't know why nobody in her camp has made this connection, but she's trying to sell things that don't fit who she is. But the wig, we're all convinced. We've seen that wig in action for however long we've seen Beyonce, right? So we understand that she knows quality. We understand that it looks real, all of these other things, but no one has made that connection. And I can't even understand why not. Now, here are some authentic things. We know her mom. We know her life. We know her story. We know her sacrifice she made for her children. We know all of these things. We also know that she's been in fashion since before Beyonce had a career. House of Darion should have been created for her mother, not her. It would have been believable. We would have bought it, right? But because people think that you put a face and a name together and it sells, it didn't work. The other thing is we also know Solange, right? Even though Solange is in the background, we know that she's very authentic. We know that she's very real. We know that she lives a holistic lifestyle. We know many things about her, and we would have bought Solange's hair care products, right? So this is just an idea of how we move and how we release things from who we are designed to be and how we show up versus a persona. The Kardashians are a brand that have many other brand attachments and personas, right? So even let's talk about Skims and Good American Jeans. Those are not their brands. There is a co-founder. I've watched her story. I cannot think of her name. I have it listed here. I can't. But she actually, those two products, she found their face and curated a brand, but the brand is really her. If you ever watch her in an interview, you will understand and can make a clear connection of Good American and Skims. They are made for full-figured women. They are made for curvy women. They are actually made for women of color who can't find things in their size. And then the complementary is women with curves who can't find things in their size. It is a woman behind both those brands, her and her husband, who came up with this concept, contacted the Kardashians, had done some work with their mom before, and it ended up being a good fit. So even the things that are super successful don't come from their idea or concept, but the person who has the vision really saw a face, and her whole concept of personal branding, she used someone that she understood what actually matters to them behind the scenes that we don't get to see. And she put it together, and it's super successful. I think they're both billion-dollar industries. Now let's move on and talk about Auntie Tabitha Brown. Surprisingly, she didn't come up a lot. She is the epitome of a personal brand. We have followed her from her entire story, right? So this tells me the understanding of people in personal branding and business and marketing. Auntie Tabitha Brown started at home. She had dreams. She started very inauthentic. If you don't know the story, I'll just give you a quick backdrop. She thought she had to be a certain size. She thought she had to straighten her hair. There's a lot of things that she was trying to do to break into the entertainment industry. She ended up coming up with some health challenges, and she really leaned into God for who am I? What am I supposed to be doing here? And I just need to be healthy and whole. Now, that realization, that revelation of getting clear about who she is happened in a matter of weeks. God told her to turn the camera on. Her daughter came home from school, right? And told her about this. I'm not sure the name of what the documentary she's watching, but it was one of those food documentaries, and told her they should try it for 30 days. As she leaned into what matters most, God told her she turned the camera on. She had this amazing reaction to a Whole Food sandwich. I watched it. I fell in love with her. And within days, Whole Foods called her and offered her a deal. From that point on, everything she's ever wanted, dreamed, imagined, etc., has been brought to her. She didn't have to go find it. Because she began to focus on who she is and her relationship with God and allowing Him to show her the desires of her heart, it has exploded. And she shares every bit of that journey, that story, her revelation, how she got to this place, her challenges, where she messed up, what God turned it around. She's sharing her life experience, and we are all hooked in by the collar because it is relatable. Relatability is the number one thing in personal branding. Now, does that mean you have to go share your trauma, your life stories? No. And we'll get to that. This is where you intentionally package your story. You do this in private. You sit and you think, you write it out, and you decide what dots connect, and then you begin to share them in a way that is impactful and helpful for people. Otherwise, you'll just be trauma bonding. So identifying your personal brand. Okay, who are you? What is your life message? What solution do you carry? These consist of three things: wiring, core values, and passion. Okay. In this process, you're going to explain how your unique design and your natural wiring shape what makes you for your audience, right? You're going to explain to them how these things impact your decisions, how your values determine how you show up, what you agree with, what you don't. This is a place where you literally begin to understand your life in big picture. So you sit down and you look back and you connect the dots and you allow God, you sit in that place with God and you ask him to share your story with you from his point of view. We all have one version of the story, and we have it from this place of, this is my life. Maybe this sucks, but I saw God in it, to allowing him to tell you what he saw in your journey and where he was in the process. This gives you a full picture story. Okay. Communicate your passion very clearly. You're going to show why it's the fuel behind what you do, and this is what makes it so contagious. This is what makes it magnetic for people. This is where people can identify that you are the person they want to follow, not because they want to be like you, but because they see something that fuels their passion. They see it done in a way that's edifying, that is beneficial, and it gives them hope. Giving someone hope through your life story is the key, right? So it's not just to gather a bunch of people to talk about your pains and your woes and your trauma. That's not safe. That's not healthy. And you have to remember it when you have this level of influence, and I don't care if it's just two people, it's a level of influence. When you have this level of influence, you are taking people somewhere. You need to know where you're taking them. It's not enough to sit in the mud to be comforted with them. You have to be intentional to take them somewhere and to show them how you got out of the mud, and to show them that God was in the mud with you and how he loved you and the revelation you got that caused you to get up and walk with him out of the mud. Okay. These are things that will help you identify your personal brand, your wiring, why you do the things you do. You're uniquely made a certain way. And then your core values. What do you believe? What fuels you? And then your passion. Okay. Personal brand journey is your perspective, your narrative, and your story. And this slide has a lot of context because I'm actually going to read this word for word to make sure that I don't leave anything out, because this is really important in curating and outlining your personal brand. So one, let's talk about your perspective. So whose point of view are you telling your story from? Is it yours or God's? It's important that you take the time to reflect on God's perspective in your journey, right? Ask him the hard questions, because if you don't, you will sit before your audience and just pour out. You will bleed all over people. It's important to sit and do this, to journal, to reflect, right? Ask him his perspective. There'll be healing in that space. Where was he in each moment of your story? How did he guide or help you along the way? What did he see in you about himself, right? Because God is in us. What did he see in you about himself in there? And that is a part of the story that we often miss. We often think that we are doing this and God is just somewhere up there watching. We do not realize that God is in us and walking this journey with us and coaching us and holding us and nurturing us and loving us through it and holding us when we don't do the right thing and still loving us the same. Okay. Encouraging us along the way. So what did he see in you about himself and the challenges that you faced as you climbed each mountain? So sharing God's point of view helps your audience to see the bigger picture of how everything was connected, showing them the depth of your story and what was produced in you because of it. This is super important. This intentionality will help you be very clear about where you're taking people to. They're not just following you into more trauma by rehearsed stories. There has to be a point of your sharing, and it needs to leave hope. We look at the state of the world today, and there's not a lot of hope. People are hopeless. Suicide rates are crazy, in children as well. People are looking for hope. They want to know that it's going to be okay. Your life depicts that it's going to be okay. So it's important for us to choose carefully how we give them our story. Okay, and there's number two, which is your narrative. How you tell the story matters. It's a powerful story. It isn't just a recounting of hardships. It's about transformation and victory, right? I'm going to say that again. It's about transformation and victory. Make sure your story includes moments of breakthrough, hope, and overcoming, right? This is how you are leaving your essence and testimony with people that will mark people's lives in a pivotal way. It will give them the power to shift. Without this transformation, the narrative can become a space for trauma bonding with no clear path toward hope, change. Instead, they need to focus on how God worked through your journey and the tools you gain, turning challenges into triumphs. This will inspire them to know that God can do it for them too, because he's not a respecter of persons. Your audience will resonate with your victory and be inspired by your path that you have paved, not to copy it, but to then get the courage to stand up and journey forward. So number 3 is your story. Present your story as a series of connected experiences and lessons learned. Creating a framework for that, it helps others follow. It helps them follow where you're going and really see aha moments for themselves. What did you overcome? What tools or principles helped you transform? Share these insights in a way that allows your audience to see their own potential transformation and victory by following your example, right? We are a light and we are the salt to this earth. When I say we are a light, I think I want to make it very clear. We are a light leading them out of a dark place. Okay. The reason that we can lead them out of the dark place is because we're no longer in it. We become the light in their dark place, and otherwise they can't see. People, because they want to see the way out, right? When we talk about personal branding, people follow people like the Kardashians because they're trying to see a way out. They're trying to see a way out of their mundane lifestyle, and they want whatever they see on the screen. They want it, right? So it's super important for us to understand that anything we follow is because we want. If you follow McDonald's, it's because you want it. They offer something that you want, right? People want to see a way out. And here's the thing with McDonald's, it's not healthy. We know that. People still line up for it every day because McDonald's is not selling them burgers and fries. It's selling them a want. It's selling them the desire to not go home and have to think about cooking. It's selling them quick convenience, right? It's a want. So we have to understand the end game that we are presenting for people, and we have to be very intentional about it. Now, this is not inauthentic. You are just being careful and responsible in your stewardship of the lives that will follow you. And this is a part that doesn't get talked about in personal branding. You have people that say things like, well, I'm not an icon. I never signed up to be an influencer. God made you that way. You literally don't have a choice. Whether you intend to or don't intend to, you are an influencer. Whether you intend to or you don't intend to, you are a mentor. Someone is watching and they're waiting for your story so that they can get what they need. We are an ignition to someone's flame. So identify who you are and who you are not. This is pivotal. This is so important. This is how you're going to do it. I'm going to give you 5 simple steps. So get your pen, you can write it down. Step 1, you're going to create a timeline, right? I know I gave you a lot of information, but now I'm going to summarize this so that you can actually literally just walk through this and simplify it and begin the process. I don't want this to be overwhelming for anyone. And if you know that God has called you to do a thing and you pushing you to show up, you know your finances are kind of social media, that God is waiting to use you in that space, then these are the steps that you need to get started. I don't want you to be like, oh my God, that's a lot. It's really not. It's so much simpler than I even explained. I'm just giving you an understanding of what it is and what it's not. But here are 5 steps to simplify this process for you to get you started. Step 1, you're going to create a timeline. Map out key moments in your life, include milestones, turning points, and significant experiences where you learned something important. So when I say create a timeline, for me, the easiest thing for me to recall is every place of deep pain that I experienced. And then I'm going to bullet point. I'm going to make probably 3 bullet points. Where was God? Where was I? How did I grow? Right? For each place of pain. Right? And I mean deep pain. I don't mean like, and then all the things that happened in that season. Kind of summarize that, where you were, where was God, and what you learned that got you to the next place. Okay, you do all that, you're going to look at all those things. This is step 2 now. You're going to list the lessons learned and the impact made. For each key moment on your timeline, you're going to write down the lessons that you learned and its impact on yourself, others, and those around you, your community. Okay, start in one state, then you learn the lesson and it makes an impact. Be very graceful with yourself in this process, because sometimes it can look like we haven't grown or we're still dealing with the same thing. And that is just absolutely not true, because all living things grow. So I don't care if it's the smallest amount of growth, it puts you two steps literally ahead of someone else's place where they're stuck. So don't discount yourself because you think I don't have it all figured out. None of us do. Step 3, connect the puzzle pieces. You're going to look for the connections made. I call this the golden thread. You're going to look for the golden thread between the lessons and the impact you've made. What patterns or themes show up that rise to the top. And these are the puzzle pieces that contributed to your identity. Okay. Your resilience, right? Your steadfastness, your willingness to really get to the core issues of what it is that keeps causing this pain. Whatever that is for you, right? You're going to get to it and you're going to connect those dots. So step 4, you're going to identify feelings of passion. From your list of lessons and impacts, you're going to highlight the moments that ignited a sense of passion in you. What truly fires you up, excites you, or drives you? What drove you? What was the driving point to get you to who we see and experience today? Okay? Different places, there are 2 different states of being. There's a place of confusion, pain, sadness, hurt. What drove you to lean into the truth? Because the truth is always present. God is the truth. Jesus is the person of truth. The Holy Spirit, they are all one. So the truth is always present. What drove you to look at it and act? What drove you to agree with it and act? Okay, these are the passions that are helping you identify what matters to you. Okay, 5, what problems have you solved? Reflect on how your passion led you to solve these problems for yourself and then for others. Usually the problem that you solve for yourself, other people are calling you for the same advice while you're in it and when you come out of it. So it's super important to be able to note this down so that you can begin to see the puzzle pieces of your impact and your influence, first starting with yourself and then starting with others. And the key here is identifying God's influence in those patterns and in those places and in your story and how you share it. Okay. Next steps is that you're going to identify your unique essence. You're going to align your message. You're going to avoid misconceptions and trauma. We're going to stay away from conversations that don't lead anywhere. We're not going to rehearse the story with a group of people online watching. We're going to be very intentional when we start talking about something. Where am I taking them to? For some people, this may take a minute, right? This may take a moment. It may take a minute, but I don't care if you write yourself a Post-it note, where am I taking them to? Because this is responsibility of leadership. And this is also, where am I taking them to? How am I getting them in this vehicle of Christ to take them from one place to the other? And I'm not saying you have to use Jesus' name. I'm not saying that. It's conversation. You are the vehicle of heaven. You are. The Father, Son, Holy Spirit lives inside of you. So am I taking them somewhere with my empathy? Am I listening to give them hope and encouragement? How am I moving them from this state to the next and not sitting there with them? Impact through your story. Again, remember to be very intentional. When you start your story, sometimes when things are very traumatic, hurtful, disappointing, we can go on and on where are we taking them to? So it's something for you to remember. And I pray that you hear my voice from this point on and the Holy Spirit every time we get stuck in a story and we hear that, where am I taking them to? Okay, focused on your why. In the beginning, we talked about my mission and my why. What is your why? You have to make clear understanding with yourself of your why. Okay, really is how we personal brand. It really is that simple. And I know that if you're in business and you're building or you want to start, you've heard a lot of people about branding and personal branding. This is the foundation of it. Everything else is extra. If you do not have this straight, and if you do not have this sorted out for yourself, you will be blown and tossed to and from all over the place, because people will just put demands on you and they will trigger you, and you will find yourself in a place that you need healing again. So it's super important to get started and be very intentional to lead the direction of the people that show up for your influence. Okay.